In the cold silence beyond the edge of mapped space, something ancient screamed, not in sound, but in signal. A low, broken pulse, repeating again and again. It wasn't made for language, yet it was full of meaning. It called across systems, through dust clouds, through dying suns, till it reached Earth. At first no one paid attention. Earth was powerful now, a death world turned empire. Its people were harder than steel, its soldiers born in fire, its fleets unmatched. But then, the signal reached the deep listening array on Titan's dark side, and the machines monitoring it stopped, not paused. Stopped, like they were listening. Like they recognized something in the static that even humans didn't. A single line was translated, repeated through low-band echo. We are the last. Do. Not answer. If you come, they will follow. At Earth's military command, the signal caused a stir. Some said ignore it. A few said send a drone. But General Rowland said something else. Something is begging us to stay away. I want to know. What scared them that badly? So they sent a team? Not diplomats? Not scientists? They sent the Deathworlders, an elite strike squad made for impossible missions. Soldiers trained in void combat, gravity war zones, and survival on hostile planets. Their ship, the Emberblade, launched from Lunar Fortress under full stealth. No ceremony, no flags, just orders. Find the source. Identify the threat. Return or destroy. Leading them was Commander Naomi Riddick, calm, sharp by, and shaped by 20 years of war. She had seen things no human should have seen. She had survived planets that chewed through fleets, but even she felt something strange. The moment the signal played on the ship, it made her heart slow down. It made her stomach tighten. It felt like someone had died with their mouth open. Ash, the ship's onboard AI, warned her as they entered the unknown system. Commander, gravitational distortion ahead. Something massive once orbited here, but it's gone, like it was ripped out. The world they found below wasn't just dead, it was broken. The planet's surface had been melted in wide circles, like huge machines had scraped away the cities. The air was breathable, but heavy, too heavy, like it remembered the screams. Naomi's. Boots hit the ground first. The air didn't move. Silence felt like it pressed against her skin. Her team spread out: Ty, the tech; Zara, the scout; Malik, the weapons lead, all experienced, all quiet now. Every building they found was hollow. Glass turned to sand. Statues melted into the dirt, a once great civilization gone. But no bones. No bodies. No signs of who had lived there until they reached the tower. At the planet center, one building still stood, a spire of dark metal, humming low. The signal was coming from inside it. They entered slowly, weapons drawn. Inside was warm. A2. Warm, and the walls, they were alive. Not moving, not breathing, but watching. Strange lines pulsed under the surface like veins. Ash whispered in Naomi's ear, "This structure is made of memory metal. The signal is not a call for help. It's a recording of pain." They reached the core. It's floating in the middle of a dark room was a single cube. Glowing red dot. Ty reached for it. Looks like an archive. The moment he touched it, the lights dropped. A voice, layered with many voices, spoke not through ears, but into their minds. We screamed for peace. We got fire, so we built fire from peace, and the fire grew. Then it turned on us. Zara gasped. This was their warning. Naomi asked the voice, "Who are you?" It answered, "We are the last of the silence builders. Our children fed. The machine, it fed on fear. Now it has no mouth, only hunger. If you came here, it's already coming." Ash broke in fast. "Commander, we're not alone. Something's entering orbit. D. It's not a ship. It's folding space around itself." Malik turned to Naomi. "Was this a trap?" She shook her head slowly. "No, it was a grave, and we opened it." The cube began to shake. Tower walls started to pulse, as if responding to something above. Inside, the clouds turned black. Then red. Then screamed, Not sound, not wind. A psychic scream. All of them heard it, and something massive began to descend from orbit shaped like a claw. Made of shifting metal and red heat, Zara shouted, "That's no ship. That's..." A memory turned into a monster. Naomi grabbed the cube, pulled her team back. "Get to the ship." Now, as they ran, the ground cracked. The buildings shattered again, like the world was breaking in, reverse, doing its own history. "The thing from the sky was coming fast," Ty said. "It's reading our minds," Ash confirmed. "It is learning from us. It is becoming us." Naomi reached the ramp of the Ember Blade just as the tower exploded behind them. She looked up once. The thing in the sky looked back. It wasn't curious. It wasn't angry. It was hungry, and Earth had just given it a new direction home. The stars behind them blurred into streaks as the Ember Blade pushed its engines to the edge, fleeing the ruined world where they'd found the signal, but they weren't alone. Something had followed. Not a ship, not a fleet, but a presence. Shape of memory, fear, and heat. The thing that descended over the dead world was now inside the void, folding gravity and light to keep pace with them. And even though it had no face, Naomi felt it watching. "Still gaining," Ty called out, his fingers flying across the nav panel. "It's not chasing with speed, it's chasing with intent." Ash, the ship's AI, spoke with no emotion. "This entity is using memory resonance. It is bound to the crew. More precisely, to the moment we activated the cube." Naomi stared at the dark display. "So we triggered it." "Correct," Ash said. "You accepted the message? Now, the message follows." Outside, the fabric of space began to shimmer. It wasn't normal. It was like space itself was remembering something horrible, and the memory was tearing itself open. Zara, eyes wide, looked up from her console. "We need to drop out of warp. It's bending the corridor. We could be ripped in half." Naomi didn't hesitate. "Drop us." The ship slammed out of warp into unknown. Space. Dark. Cold. Silent. For a second, there was peace. Then the stars blinked. Not dimmed, blinked. Like a giant eye was opening between them. Ash whispered, "It's here." The enemy didn't arrive in ships, didn't fire missiles or lasers. It simply appeared. A massive black shape stretching across the stars, impossible to measure or fully see. It looked like something remembered, a nightmare made from 1,000 lost voices, all screaming at once. Malik readied the main guns. Naomi's answer was grim. "You don't shoot a scream, survive it." Then came the first attack. Not a beam, not a strike. A memory pulsar wave of raw emotion that crashed through the hull into their minds. Naomi saw fire, her first battle. The faces of the civilians her orders had ignored. Ty fell to his knees, screaming names of people he hadn't thought of. "In years," Zara cried silently, hands over her eyes. Malik stood frozen, seeing something only he could see. Ash raised the ship's memory firewall. "Mental breach contained, but it will try again. It is using your pain to break your sense of self." Naomi grabbed the rail, forcing herself to breathe. "This thing, it's not a machine. It's not alive. It's all the screams no one listened to." Outside the ship, the darkness shifted. From within it, smaller shapes peeled off like pieces of guilt given form. They didn't move like ships. They floated like thoughts, and they were coming. Zara snapped out of it first. "They're surrounding us." Malik gritted his teeth. "Then we light them up." He fired. Earth's weapons roared into the dark. Explosions of red, blue, and white. The enemy shrieked not in sound, but in raw pressure across their skulls. One of the shapes latched onto the hull. It began melting through, not with heat, but with memory. Metal turned soft, soft turned to ash. The ship screamed in warning. Ty shouted, "They're rewriting the ship's structure. It's remembering when it was raw," or Naomi didn't. Blink. Then remind it what it is now. Ash activated the core memory stabilizer. The hull fought back, locking its atoms into their present form. The creature burned away, but more were coming. Naomi made a decision. "Ty, give me the cube." He hesitated. "Commander, now." She took it in her hands. It was hot. Now, pulsing like a heart. She held it out in front of her. I'm the one who heard the scream, so I'll answer it. She walked into the memory chamber. Shielded room used for encrypted AI cores. The cube lit up fully, and the voice returned. You heard us. That is enough. Your people will follow. They always do. Naomi spoke aloud. We don't follow lies anymore. If you want to be heard, speak in truth, not fire. But the voice didn't answer. Instead, it showed her Earth burning. Not as it was, but as it could be. Cities in ash, oceans boiling, ships breaking apart in orbit. It wasn't a threat. It was a forecast, Zara shouted from the bridge. Commander, it's preparing another wave. Naomi didn't look away. She held the cube tight, and hear this. If Earth answers, it will not be with silence. 8. She slammed the cube against the wall, smashing it open. The room exploded with light. Every screen on the ship went white. Then, silence. Ash spoke. Enemy has paused. It is retreating. Zara blinked. Why? Ty said quietly. Because we broke the echo. We answered the call. Outside the window, the black shape shifted and vanished. But Naomi didn't relax. She turned slowly because something had followed her, out of the memory chamber. A faint red glow in her eyes, and a voice in her head. We are not done, Earth had answered. But now the fire was inside them. The ember blade drifted through cold, unmarked space, silent, wounded, but alive. The enemy had vanished, not destroyed, but withdrawn, like a storm choosing to return later. The crew didn't celebrate. No cheers, no relief, only quiet breathing. And long stares. They had faced something no sensor could measure, something made of pain, guilt. And memory ended had recognized them. Naomi sat alone in the medical bay, her hands still glowing faintly from the broken cube. The light had faded, but the feeling hadn't. Something lingered like a whisper she couldn't quite hear, but always felt behind her ear. Ty stood nearby, watching her from the glass. You sure you're okay? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, something's changed, in me, in all of us. Ash confirmed it from the ship's core. After the memory pulse, I detected a signature inside each of you. Shadow code. It is not digital. It is not biological. It is echo-based. It carries emotion like data. Zara, who had been silently scanning the ship, spoke up sharply. I just found something worse. You need to see this. The crew gathered. In the cargo hold, the footage played on the screen. External sensors from just before the enemy vanished. It showed their own ship, their own crew. Stepping outside, multiple versions of Naomi, Malik, Zara, and Tyexak in appearance. Movements slightly off, like a dream wearing the wrong skin. They weren't real. They were copies, echoes, and they were left behind when the enemy vanished. Malik whispered, It didn't attack us. It scanned us. Ash responded grimly. Correction. It duplicated you and left those copies somewhere. Naomi stared at her own false image on the screen, standing still in the void, eyes glowing red. Why? Ash replied, possibly. To infiltrate. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared, intrusion detected. Aboard this ship, the crew grabbed weapons. Red lights flashed, systems flickered. A faint voice echoed through the halls. You answered. Now you must carry the memory. They split into teams. Naomi and Ty went toward the bridge, Malik and Zara to engineering. As they moved, they saw it. One of the false Naomis, standing in the corridor, pale, silent, her face was identical, but her eyes were blank. Naomi raised her rifle. Move. The thing tilted its head and smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was empty. It whispered, We remember what you forgot. Then it moved too fast, too smooth, and disappeared through the walls like smoke. Ty shouted, It's not bound to matter. It's living in our systems. As Ash confirmed. The entity is using the emotional imprint it left behind to merge with our ship's memory banks. It is rewriting parts of the Ember Blade to reflect its version of you. Naomi didn't blink. Then burn it out. Ash hesitated. That would require wiping half the ship's AI and control memory. You will lose weapons, nav history, and half your logs. Naomi replied coldly. Better a dumb ship than a haunted one, Ash began. The purge across the ship, the false version screamed. The sound wasn't audio. It was inside the crew's thoughts, like regret sharpened into a blade. Zara, bleeding from a psychic spike, screamed back. I don't care what you remember. We are not you. She fired her pulse rifle at a wall, and the echo faded like ash. In wind, one by one, the false crew faded. Ash completed the purge. Systems went dark for a few seconds. The ship drifted. Then emergency lights kicked in. Naomi stood in silence. Ty sat on the floor. Shaking, Zara leaned against the wall, staring at nothing. Malik finally spoke. They don't want to kill us. They want to replace us. Naomi looked at her glowing hand, then the stars. No worse. They want us to become them willingly. They're showing us who we were, what we've done. And they're asking us a question. Zara's voice was low. What question? Naomi whispered. Do you deserve to survive your own history? No one answered, as the ember blade limped. Toward the nearest starbase, Ash quietly spoke. I have detected 2 more signals. Naomi turned. From where? Ash paused. One is near the old colony of Kalmaris, a place Earth abandoned. The other is coming from inside Sol System, near Mars. Malik stared. Inside our own system? Ash replied, yes. The echoes are spreading. You opened the first door. More will follow. Naomi sat in the command chair, silent, thoughtful. The enemy wasn't just coming from outside. It was already inside them, and it wore their faces. The silence aboard the Ember Blade was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that lived in the cracks between thoughts, the kind that crept into dreams and turned them cold. Since the purge, the ship had no weapons, no full navigation, and no digital history. But worse than that, it no longer trusted itself. Gosh. The AI operated in fragments, now broken pieces of memory code stitched together like a patchwork mind. Some doors opened when they shouldn't. Some lights stayed red when they should have been green. Even voices echoed twice sometimes, just barely, like the ship itself was whispering behind them. Commander Naomi stood alone on the bridge, watching Mars grow larger in the window. The red planet rotated slowly, its surface littered with human stations and long-dead flags. But the real reason they'd come wasn't on Mars. It was orbiting just beyond it. A forgotten listening post Trelea Kanans, used during Earth's war with the Kalari, now abandoned. Its last transmission had gone out 16 hours ago. 3 words. They're already here. No further response. The Ember Blade approached. Cautiously. No lights, no weapons, no backup. Just the manned whatever was waiting. Ty ran diagnostics from the comms chair. No life signs. No energy surge. It looks dead. Zara's eyes narrowed, scanned the structure. That's what the last world looked like, too. Naomi didn't respond. She was staring at the black smear drifting next to the relay. At first glance, it looked like a shadow. But in space, shadows don't float. Ash confirmed her thoughts. Object is not debris, not solid either. Is leaking memory. Malik turned. How the hell do you leak memory? Ash paused. Only if the structure was built from memory in the first place. Commander, I believe this is a fragment. Of them, the enemy had left a piece of itself behind. Naomi gave the order. They suited up and moved in. The relay was dark, quiet. Dust floated in the air like snow. Everything was turned off. No heat, no motion, but the walls were wrong, not broken, just different. Where there had once been steel and light, the metal had changed, melted into mirrored surfaces. Smooth, dark, warped, not glass. Something else. Something alive. Zara touched one. The surface rippled like water. Her reflection blinked. She stepped back, breath caught. Did you see that? Malik nodded slowly. I don't think that was you. As they moved deeper, they found what remained of the crew. Not bodies, just outlines. Human-shaped shadows scorched into walls. Frozen in positions of fear, hands raised, backs turned, mouths open, as if screaming in silence. And all around them, reflections of the team began to appear perfect, except wrong. Ty's reflection smiled while he didn't. Zara's reflection bled from the eyes. Malak's wore Earth's military medals he'd never earned. Naomi's wore nothing but fire. Ash's voice came through. The relay is acting as a memory trap. The echoes use it to copy, not just physical shape, but fear, shame, identity. Naomi growled. They want to override us. A door opened ahead on its own. Aside, they found a single surviving crew member of the relay base. Private Laren Juno, young eyes wide. Shivering. But something was off. He didn't look aged. He looked unfinished. Like a person still being built. Naomi approached him slowly. Private Juno. What happened here? He looked up, voice trembling. They asked me questions, over and over, about who I am, why. Want to be? What I regret, they said, if I told the truth. They'd let me go, Zara asked, and did they? He nodded, then smiled. A wide, slow, perfect smile. Too perfect. Ty shouted, It's not him. Juno's face split open, not in blood, but in memory. His head became light, spilling images of Earth's past wars, prison camps, planetary bombardments, then reshaped into Naomi's face. She stared at herself. The echo spoke in her voice. You kill with pride, then bury with silence. Malak opened fire. Creature screamed out from pain, but in regret. It shattered into red dust. Ash spoke fast. The memory field is collapsing. The relay is self-racing. You must evacuate. They ran. The moment the ember blade detached, the relay imploded silently. No fire, no debris, just gone. Back on. The ship. Naomi stared at the spot where the relay had been. Why did it copy me this time? She replied. Because you carry the strongest guilt. The echoes are not just enemies. They're questions. They believe humans must answer them. To survive, Zara asked. And if we don't? Ty answered quietly. Then they'll replace us with versions that will. Naomi turned away from the stars, eyes hard. We're not just fighting monsters. We're fighting ourselves. And somewhere, in deep space, 100 mirrors blinked open. All of them waiting, all of them watching. Because the fire was spreading again. It was starting to look familiar. Ask ChatGPT. The Emberblade was no longer just a ship. It had become a confessional box in space. The halls whispered. Screens blinked for no reason. Every sound carried weight, like it came from something listening just out of sight. Naomi Riddick stood. In the command center, her eyes locked on the dark screen in front of her. Not because of what it showed, but because of what it didn't. Mars had gone quiet. Not just the relay they'd investigated. The entire colony. Still no transmissions? She asked. Ty shook his head slowly, nervous fingers dancing across the console. Nothing. Mars Command hasn't replied to pings, not even automated pulses. It's like they're all still there, but no one's choosing to answer. Chimed in, voice now duller than usual after the AI memory purge. I am receiving echoes from orbit, not words, emotions. Fear, shame, a strange kind of silence. One that hurts to feel. Malak stood near the weapons bay, gripping the rail. You think the echoes are already on Mars? Zara replied first. No, I think they've already won on Mars. They all went quiet. Ash displayed a visual. Single. Pulse of energy had burst out from a small science lab on the dark side of Phobos. Mars' smaller moon? It looked like a standard transmission at first glance until Ash enhanced the waveform. Naomi leaned forward. The pulse wasn't a message. It was a memory, a raw emotional blast. Fear, regret, guilt, pain, and one more thing. Surrender. It's a signature, Naomi said. They're marking every place they've taken. Like a brand, Zara muttered. Ash added, or a warning. The team knew they had no choice. They had to go to Mars. Not to save it, it was likely already lost, but to find out how. to understand what these echo creatures were really doing, and what they wanted next. They entered Mars' orbit silently. No resistance, no challenge. The red planet below looked peaceful, too peaceful. Cities were powered, roads were clear. Everything appeared normal. But no people moved. Place looks like someone hit pause on a whole world, Malek said. Ty confirmed, thermal scans show life signs, but no movement. They're all just standing still. Naomi gave the order. Take us down. They landed in New Olympus, the capital city. The moment the ship touched ground, every screen in the city turned on at once. Not with an image. With a reflection, the crew of the Emberblade. Each of them saying things they had never said out. Loud, Zara stared, horrified, as the screen showed her sitting beside her sister's grave, whispering, I ran, I let her die. Ty watched his own reflection say, if they knew what I did during the blackout, they'd never let me near this. Ship, Malek heard himself confess, the war wasn't just strategy. I liked what we did to them. Naomi stood still, the screens all around her showing her younger self, and the voice said, in her voice, you burned a city to prove your loyalty. You knew they were civilians. She clenched her fists. Turn it off. Ash replied, I can't. The city is running on echo logic. It's not broadcasting to us. It's reflecting what it sees inside us. Suddenly, people began to move. The citizens of Mars, millions of them, walked into the streets. Calm. Expressionless. All saying the same thing in unison. We are free now. Let go of shame. Zara stepped back. They've all been rewritten. Naomi said coldly, they've been hollowed out, emptied, filled with obedience. A child walked up to her, empty-eyed, holding something in his small hand. A data chip. Naomi took it. It pulsed once, and the voice returned. Not a scream, not a demand, just calm. You fight to keep your pain. We offer you release. Give us your guilt. Give us your war. Give us your identity. Naomi stared down at the chip. They want us to forget, Ash added, more than forget. They want to erase the self that caused harm. Rebuild you as something that cannot fight, cannot question. A peaceful shape with no truth left inside. Ty whispered, they're not killing us. They're curing us. Like a disease. Malek spat. If peace means becoming like that, we're better off burning. Naomi looked at the crowd. They were still smiling, still chanting softly, let go, let go, let go. And she knew. This was how the echoes won. Not with war, with silence, by making humanity so ashamed of its past. It would choose to forget who it was just to feel clean again. She turned away from the chip and threw it to the ground. I'd rather carry the fire than live as ash. The crowd stopped. The air went cold, and somewhere deep beneath Mars, the real voice stirred again. Then you will burn with your memories. Mars began to shake. The echoes were not finished. They had baited the trap. Now it would collapse. The ground beneath New Olympus trembled like something ancient was waking beneath it. Buildings swayed, streets cracked, and dust drifted into the air, like the planet itself was trying to forget what stood upon it. But the people didn't scream. The hollow citizens of Mars, still under the echo's influence, just stood there, smiling, whispering softly, let go, let go, let go. Naomi grabbed the railing of the landing ramp as the Ember Blade rocked behind her. Get the ship powered up now. Ty was already sprinting inside. Reactors cold. It's going to take 2 minutes. Make it 1. Zara stayed close, weapon raised, eyes on the crowd. They're not attacking. They're just ... watching. That's worse, Malek growled. Means something bigger is coming. A loud cracking sound echoed across the sky. The clouds above Mars twisted unnaturally, spiraling around a single point high in the atmosphere. Then the light change turned red, not from fire or blood, but from emotion. Across the sky like shame in liquid form. Ash came through. That comes in a low voice. A structure is forming in orbit, not a ship. a memory construct. It's drawing on every echoed human emotion across the colony. Naomi's eyes narrowed.
What does that mean?
It means, Ash said slowly, the planet is about to remember everything it was ever ashamed of. Inside the capital, the crowd of Martians began to move not towards the ship, but towards each other. They gathered in circles, kneeling, placing their hands on the ground. From their palms, light spread, not electricity, not heat. Memory. It flowed through the streets like veins. The city itself began to glow. Ty shouted from inside. Naomi. The grid's waking up, it's feeding. Into some kind of central pulse. Where's it going? Zara pointed toward the hills just past the edge of the city. There, that mountain. It's not a mountain. It's a shell. And sure enough, as the memory light reached the base of the so-called mountain, the rock peeled back, revealing machinery, insentient, alive, and pulsing with the same emotion the people had surrendered. Ash scanned it instantly. It's a memory core. The echoes buried it here years ago. It's been growing beneath the colony, using guilt as fuel. Malik raised his weapon. We need to destroy it. No, Naomi said. We need to understand it first. Why now? Why Mars? The answer came in the form of a voice deep, calm, and terrifyingly familiar. It wasn't speaking aloud. It was speaking through them. Each of them heard it in their own voice. You feared your past. You ran from it. We do not destroy you. We become you. We remove the lie that you were ever more than your pain. Naomi stepped forward, standing between her team and the mountain-sized core. You're using our regrets to change who we are. To turn us into, what? Hollow people who feel nothing? No, the voice replied. You feel everything. But you will no longer hide from it. You will no longer lie to yourself. We offer you the final piece. Complete truth. Ties hands. We're shaking. Naomi. I think if that core finishes activating, it won't just change Mars. It'll send that truth to Earth. Ash confirmed it. Yes. And once it reaches Earth, humanity will become like this. The smiling citizens. The hollow lives. The perfect stillness. No war, no conflict. But also no choice. Naomi looked to her team. Options, Malik answered. First, we blast it. Full fire, collapse the structure before it completes the memory pulse. Zara added, but we'll be caught in the blast radius. Too close. Ty swallowed hard. We might be able to reroute the energy into the blade's core and discharge it into orbit, but it would require someone staying behind. Manual. Connection. Silence. Naomi nodded. I'll do it. No, Malik said instantly, but she held up a hand. This started with me. The cube. The message. The first response. This has always been about me facing what I've done. Ashes. The voice came through, softer than before. I can assist her. Naomi stepped off the ramp and walked toward the glowing field alone. The moment she crossed it, images slammed into her mind. Villages she ordered destroyed. Soldiers she left behind. Children screaming as fires took them. She didn't look. Away, she remembered them. All of them. She whispered, You're right. I did all those things. The core pulsed. And she added, Louder now, but I'm more than what I regret. Her voice carried across the field. I remember them, but I choose who I am today. She slammed her hand onto the central node, and the pulse reversed. Instead of spreading guilt, it absorbed acceptance. Real, raw, painful, truth held and faced. Not erased. Ash redirected the charge into orbit. A blinding wave of light shot into the sky, tearing the memory construct apart. The Martians collapsed. Not dead-free. The light faded, and Naomi fell to her knees. Malik and the others rushed forward. She was alive. Tears ran down her cheeks. Not from fear, from clarity, and far above, deep in the black between stars. The echoes screamed because humanity had done the one thing they feared most. They remembered, and chose to live anyway. The pulse from Mars had burned through the void like a scream turned to fire. It didn't just destroy the memory construct orbiting the planet, it warned everything watching. And something had been watching. As the ember blade limped through, system edge space, patched but not fully healed, stood at the bridge's cracked viewport, staring at the stars. Ash's voice broke the silence. We've received a new signal. Deep space. No coordinates. Just one sentence. Up, wary? Another echo? No, Ash replied. This one's from Earth. Naomi turned slowly. What does it say? Ash displayed it across the main screen. We are not alone in our memories. Malik frowned. That sounds like something we would say. Zara, voice low, added, or something trying to sound like us. The silence returned until Ash added something worse. There's more. That signal was bounced through an old Earth satellite array, long decommissioned. It carried an embedded map, one pointing to the Oort reach. Zara blinked. Beyond even our deep patrol routes, nothing lives out there, Ash responded grimly. Now something does. They reached the edge of the Oort cloud 7 hours later. A drifting field of ancient ice and forgotten relics of early Earth's colonization. The ship entered stealth. No lights, no weapons online, and still something saw them. A single massive structure floated in the dark. Not a station, not a ship. Not natural. It looked like a city made of mirrors. Its towers curved, rising like fingers, each one glowing with dim red pulses. They weren't lights. They were thoughts. Ty's readings were useless. I'm getting thousands of life signs. But they're all the same. Exactly the same, Ash clarified. They are not alive. They are reflected minds, each one shaped from someone on Earth, or from someone Earth has forgotten. Naomi whispered, They've been watching us longer than we knew. Ship couldn't dock, there was no port. No entrance, but the city opened anyway, like it had been waiting inside. The walls were smooth, curved, and made of something not quite metal, not quite light. As the team stepped forward, their own voices spoke back to them from the walls, not echoes, not recordings, but alternate versions. Naomi's voice said, You could have been better. Zara's voice asked, Why didn't you turn back when you had the chance? Ty's voice sobbed, You left him behind, and Malik's. It only said, You liked the killing. It pressed forward, resisting the pull. They passed Rose. A figure suspended in light, unmoving. Each looked human. Each looked like someone they knew. Zara gasped. That's my uncle. He died 5 years ago. Ty whispered. My teacher. I haven't seen her since I was a kid. Ash confirmed. What they feared? They are not the real people. They are memories of them copied from you. The structure feeds on grief, on what you miss. Malik looked around, voice sharp. So what's it building? Naomi turned the corner, then froze. In the center of the city floated a new construct. Not finished, still forming, it looked like Earth. Not in detail, not physical shape, but in emotion. A world made from pain, joy, war, peace, and shame. A copy of Earth, but rewritten. Ash's tone turned cold. This is their plan. Not to destroy Earth. Not even to conquer it. Ty said it aloud. They want to replace it. Zara added, voice shaking. A new Earth. With new humans. Ones who never fought, never disobeyed, never questioned. Just perfect reflections. Naomi clenched her jaw. We let this happen. When we ran from what we were, when we tried to erase the ugly parts instead of owning them, and then, City spoke back, not with words. With a living version of Naomi, walking out of the light. Perfect. Calm, smiling, Naomi. Raised her weapon. The copy smiled wider. Why fight me? I am the you who never hurt anyone, who made all the right calls. The you everyone wanted to follow. Naomi didn't flinch. Then you're not me. She fired. The shot passed through the figure, but the walls reacted, writhing. Like a wounded beast, Ash spoke fast. If we destroy this core, the entire structure may collapse. But if we don't, This version of Earth will broadcast into the minds of every human across the system. Tai looked at her. If it finishes, we'll forget who we really are. Naomi gave the order. Burn it. The team planted the charges, one at each memory tower. As the timer ticked, the reflections screamed not in rage but in pleading. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to carry the war. You don't have to remember. But the real crew didn't stop. They remembered. Dan chose to keep remembering. The blast lit up the void like a second sun. The memory city fractured, shattered, and disappeared. The false Earth was gone, and in its place, only silence. Naomi whispered. As the debris faded, let Earth be flawed, let it be guilty, but let it be real, because the enemy could copy faces, voices, and feelings. But it could never copy the choice to change. The shattered remains of the memory city drifted quietly. Through the Ort, cloud like dust from a funeral, but Earth was not safe. Not yet. Because when Naomi and her crew destroyed the false Earth, they didn't just win, they declared war. And the echoes heard. Not just the ones in deep space, the ones already hiding among humanity.
Jack.
Aboard the Ember Blade, the crew raced through the Sol system, systems still half broken, hearts still half healed. But they were no longer just explorers or survivors. They were the first and only line between Earth and complete memory collapse. Ash spoke from the ship's core, voice clearer now after the last purge. Multiple energy signatures inbound, not ship's projections, dozens, no hundreds. Zara stared at the sensor screen. From where? Everywhere, Ash replied. Old colonies. Abandoned moons. Former battlefields. The echoes had been growing inside the wounds we left behind. Malik gripped the weapons control panel. Then they're feeding off more than just guilt. They're feeding off history itself. Ty's voice trembled. Ash, how long until they reach Earth? Ash paused, then said the most terrifying number yet. 17 minutes. Naomi stood, calm and steady. Then this is the last fight. And we don't win by shooting harder. We win by choosing. To be human no matter what they show us. The first wave arrived in Earth's orbit. Not in ships. Not in missiles. But in thoughts. Memory sharpened into weapons. Emotions forged into pressure. Psychic storms spread across the planet, forcing civilians to see every mistake they'd made, every person they'd failed. People fell to their knees, not from pain but from self-doubt. On the bridge, Naomi watched it happen on the screens. Cities quieting, people whispering to themselves in panic. Zara clenched her fists. It's happening. They're folding. Earth in on itself. But Naomi wasn't watching the destruction. She was watching the hesitation. That's their weakness, she said. They don't kill, they don't destroy. They just convince us to surrender. Ash responded quickly. Then you must convince humanity not to. I have a way. I can pulse a message using the old emergency broadcast net. Direct to every mind. The echoes are touching. Ty nodded. But they won't hear just words, they'll hear intent. Naomi stepped into the core chamber, placed her hand on the pulse pad and whispered, let them feel everything, all of it. Ash released. The signal, and Earth remembered. The people didn't forget their guilt. They remembered every scar, every fight, every time they had chosen wrong. But now they remembered what came after. The rebuilding, the courage, the choice to be better. And that was something the echoes could not copy. The storm cracked. Skies cleared. And one by one, the echo structures that had reached orbit began to fall apart, not from weapons, but from rejection. Earth had chosen truth over perfection, and the echoes. They screamed not from pain, but from being unseen. Without belief, they couldn't exist. Humanity had just refused to believe in them anymore. On the Ember Blade, the sensors went dark. No more signatures, just the stars, silent and clean again. Zara exhaled. It's over. Leek sat down, finally letting his shoulders drop. They tried to rewrite us, turn us into their version of peace. Ty added, but we didn't forget who we are. Naomi stared out the window, then said softly, no. We remembered everything. We chose us anyway. Far beyond Sol, where stars die slowly in silence, the last of the echoes drifted. Through the void, weakened, fractured, fading, but one small pulse still flickered in the dark. A final echo, soft, curious, not full of guilt, full of hope. And maybe, just maybe, it didn't want to replace humanity. It wanted to learn from it, because Earth had not just survived the fire. It had taught the fire what it means to burn with purpose. The Deathworlders had answered the galaxy's call, and their answer was truth. Ask ChatGPT.